Greetings, YouTubians, and welcome back to Wayne's Sharp World, where today we are going to be taking a look at the newest Benchmade that is being talked about for a lot of reasons. This here is the Benchmade Redoubt. Now, before I go any further into this review, I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in today. If you like what you see, please do me a huge favor, hit that subscribe button, follow along, and I will continue to bring you the content. I also want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Blade Ops. Look them up for all things sharp, and check out this knife below. There will be linked to Blade Ops for purchase if it's something that fits your fancy, grabs your interest, something you gotta have and can't live without. Blade Ops is your source. Now, this knife right here, there's a lot of things that people have been saying about it, and it was one that I really wanted to get in hand before I got too vocal about it. And now I have it, and I have a lot of things to say. But before I do that, let's take a look at some overall specs on this knife right here. We have an overall length of 8.29 inches, with a blade length coming in at 3.55 inches, and a blade width right at 1.13 inches. Blade thickness on this guy is 125 thousandths, with a blade material of CPM D2. We will talk more about that in a second. We have a blade style of a drop point with a flat grind, a handle length coming in at 4.75 inches, and a handle thickness at 643 thousandths. Handle width on this guy is 1.15 inches, measured right around the middle of the handle, and we have a handle material of Grivery, which is not anyone's favorite, but there are some pros and there are some cons. But again, that and the blade steel will both be tackled shortly. And we have a locking mechanism of, as you guys are probably all well aware of, Benchmade's Axis lock, which this one, again, maybe it's just me, I don't know, but Benchmade's doing a little extra something to their Axis locks lately. I don't know what it is, but I got some good things to say about this Axis lock model right here. We have a user of right or left hand tip up carry, a weight at, for the size of this knife, 3.7 ounces is very, very nice, at a price of $162. We'll talk more about that price as we get into all this stuff, because normally $162 for an American-made knife is always 100% good to go. And I don't have too many reservations, but there are some things, there's some opinions that I want to be heard. But now let's take a look at some overall size comparisons here. And we will, of course, start off with Benchmade's. And here we have the Benchmade Bug Out, as well as the Benchmade Mini Adamas. I don't really have, the only other Benchmade I have is the 940. But I think these two do a pretty good job right here in terms of Benchmades. And then also we've got a couple Spydercos to compare it with, because I feel like Benchmade and Spyderco, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like Benchmade and Spyderco are kind of like the Nike and Under Armour of US brands for knives. I just feel like they're right there. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's the vibe I get. Let's see here, Paramilitary 2 and Para 3. And there you have it. Very much in line with the Paramilitary 2. Pretty much identical in length. And actually very comparable in like handle width and thickness too. Not quite the same lines and curvature, but very, very comparable with the PM2. Now let's talk about this knife and get into the blade, because that's one of the biggest points of discussion, and for some good reasons and for some not so good reasons. But what we have here is a drop point blade that to me rivals the Griptilian, and in all honesty, I like this blade considerably more than the Griptilian. Very, very nice, looks and feels kind of like a mashup of a Griptilian and a Bug Out. Regardless of what it reminds you of, it is a very attractive blade shape in my opinion, and just a very nice, simple drop point. Got a nice working edge on this guy of 17 thousandths behind the edge, so that's always really nice to see. And the blade steel. Let's have this discussion. Let's talk about CPM D2. Obviously, you guys know I'm not a huge fan of D2 in general, and I'm well aware CPM D2 is not regular D2. It's not your typical Chinese D2 that you see on every Blue Million folding knives out there. I get that. This is better. It sharpens better. From what I hear, it's not quite as prone to corrosion resistance, but I feel like there's a lot of conflicting information going on back and forth about some of the stuff from CPM D2. So I don't want to say too much because I'm not a CPM D2 expert. I'm not a metallurgist. I'm just a fellow knife nut. So when it comes to CPM D2, you know, I don't, for $162, and it is the improved version of CPM D2, that's not my biggest issue with this knife. I'm not happy about it. I would have loved to have seen like Cruwear. I think Cruwear would be a very welcome blade steel for this knife, especially considering I think like the way they want to go with it and kind of just like, I don't know, the approach they're taking with this knife. I think Cruwear would have been a phenomenal steel to go with. Or hell, to be honest, I mean, I would have taken a lot of things over CPM D2. It's just not what the people want. And, you know, I understand that there's business decisions that need to be made and some other things that maybe just made more sense for Benchmade to go with CPM D2. But at the end of the day, what's selling really well right now for knives in this price category is S35VN, CPM 20CV, M390, LMAX. To be honest, in Cruwear, I wouldn't even be, I wouldn't even mind seeing it be a little less and have it have 154 CM or CPM 154. That would be another good option. There's just so many ways they could have went, and going with CPM D2 to me was just kind of like not listening to the people. And the people are going to be the ones buying this, so they're not always right, but they're worth listening to. And for all the good things going on with this knife, because don't get me wrong, this is not a bashing video on this knife, because there's actually a lot of things about this knife I love. But I'm just disappointed with the choice of blade steel. I am. I don't know anything about what Benchmade's doing. I don't know their numbers and material and what they have on hand. I don't know any of that. But all I know is for this knife, I would like to see something other than CPM D2. So that's that. I think Cruwear would have been a good option because, heck, they already throw Cruwear on a lot of things, like this mini Adamas. So it was something they could have went with, or CPM 154, or M390, or CPM 20CV, or, anything but CPM D2. Okay, done. Gonna move on. I would also like to see a little jimping up here. Again, you're paying $162. I think jimping up here for what type of a knife this is, too. This is a big working knife, and it's a great design, but a little jimping up there would have been nice. Now, I will say it's not the end of the world with it not having jimping, because you have a lot of grip and a lot of texture going on down here. So is that jimping going to make the difference of the knife, giving you that much better grip? Not a whole lot, just for your thumb, but, depending how hard you're using this knife. And Benchmades are made to abuse and use hard, and a lot of people do, and they have a great warranty, so Benchmade stands behind it. So you're going to use the knife hard. So yeah, I think I would like to see a little bit of jimping there. Now going into the ergos, this is a really good knife when you get to the handle. Maybe not from a material standpoint, but in terms of just feel and hand. I love the ergos on this knife. I really, truly do. It's a nice, somewhat neutral handle, but it's got just enough curvature to where it sits in my hand perfectly. I like all the contouring on the handle. I like this grip portion. I just don't obviously love the material that's being used, but boy, it really does feel good. The one thing I don't like is just this sharp, and it's not sharp to where it's going to cut you or anything. But it's a pretty noticeable in hand when you're feeling it, when you're really squeezing and holding down. You can feel the edges of this handle, and I don't like that. Again, it's not going to cut you, not going to do anything like that. I just don't like feeling that acute edge of plastic. Not a big fan of that. Now the pocket clip. This pocket clip, Benchmade's onto something here. Very nice pocket clip, feels excellent in hand, goes excellently into the pocket, a true deep carry clip, fully reversible. Really like where they're going with this. Wouldn't mind seeing this on other products. I like that they still got the butterfly there, but it's not too much. Of course, you guys know I like a rather calm pocket clip, and you have that with this. And I really like what they did with that pocket clip. Now this handle. This is going to be a little longer video because I have a lot of comparisons to make. This knife right here, the Hogue Sig K320 Nitron. This has a polymer handle, but I love this knife. This is one of my favorite knives. I love this knife. The ergos are slightly better than than the Redoubt, but still, there's a lot of comparisons to be made here. And I think some places for Benchmade to maybe learn a little. Again, I'm not trying to, obviously I didn't design either one of these knives, and I wasn't involved in making either one of these knives. I'm simply giving my opinion on which one I like more and why I like it more. you don't have quite that sharp feel of the handle when you have the nitron in your hand compared to feeling the edges here. And when you look inside the handle, you'll see there's not a lot of metal inside there. Now, granted, that helps with weight, but again, I'm not too concerned about the weight of this knife. But all the open area down here, it's really, really flimsy. Now, I will say this is sturdier than I thought it was going to be. I don't think this is quite as flimsy as some reviewers are making it out to be. Some people make it out to be like it's, you squeeze on it, you're gonna break the handle. It's not that bad. I mean, there's some decent stability in here. But it's more the feel. It's the feel and just looking in there and seeing all this hollowness, and it looks a little cheap on the inside of the handle, I'm not gonna lie. You go inside the K320 Nitron, there's a little more steel in there, and it's not quite as hollow. And there's that extra little bit of durability you get with it not being so hollowed out in there. And that makes a real world of a difference when you're just holding these knives in hand, squeezing them, using them. You get that little bit of extra more stability and feel in the Nitron compared to what you're getting with the Redoubt. And I'm still not hating this. I know it could be better. And to be honest, I feel like this could be a little better too. But just knowing that this could be better, it makes me want more. But just sticking to this knife here, overall, it really is a decent offering. It's not my favorite. I really think there could be improvements made in this handle. But what you're getting is still pretty decent. I mean, especially considering that it's all backed by Benchmade's warranty. That's a real kicker with this knife because because of the plastic handles and because of the CPM D2 that people may or may not like, just knowing that all this is totally covered for your entire life, I mean, that right there gives me a lot more confidence in buying this knife. But then let's talk about some other things that are good about this, though, and that is the action. Because the action of this knife is arguably the best Axis-style lock action I have ever handled on a Benchmade. It's really, really, really good, especially for a bigger knife. It's super smooth, obviously no blade play, and it really is, to me, an improvement from a lot of other Axis lock knives. Now, I don't know if they've done anything special or different, but this just has an extra level of smoothness that I have not handled in the Benchmade in quite some time. I've said before, my Benchmade 940 is still the smoothest Benchmade I have. I don't know about that anymore because this really does rival that. What I get a little driven off from, though, is listening to it hit the handle. You get that plasticky thud that it just doesn't, it doesn't, I don't know, it just feels off, but the action's great. It really is a fantastic Axis lock on this knife. I really do enjoy carrying this knife, and just the ergos in general are very nice. I'm going to be very honest. What I see here, I see the original Freak. I see the original Benchmade Freak with it. They came out with it, and it was still a good knife. Don't get me wrong. This is a good knife. I don't have huge issues with it. I have disagreements with it, but there really isn't any reason for me to say, oh, I wouldn't recommend this knife, because you get the bells and whistles that come. You get the Benchmade warranty. You still get a nice blade, maybe not be the best steel, or at least the preferable steel, and you get a handle that just leaves you wanting a little more. So I see the first Freak, and I'm maybe just a gut instinct. I have a feeling, or at least I hope. Let's just say I hope, because I don't have a feeling because I haven't talked to anyone. I don't have any inside secrets with Benchmade, but I really hope to see another version of this knife with G10 and CPM 20 CV or M390, or, I mean, Magna Cut would be cool, but I feel like sometimes you get too much in the Magna Cut craze. I'd be fine with just CPM 20 CV. They put it on their knives, they have it already. This knife and CPM 20 CV with a G10 handle, or, maybe some other type of handle material other than this, would be arguably the best Benchmade ever. I really do, because I love this blade. I love the action. I love the overall size and feel in hand. There's a lot of good things about this knife, and even as is, I would recommend this knife. If it's a knife, if you just love Benchmade and you want to buy Benchmade and you're still even on the fence with this because you may not like some of the material choices, it's still a really damn good knife in terms of just overall what it is. Could it be a lot better? Yes. I think it could be twice as good as what it is now with an upgraded steel and a different handle material. I truly feel that. But for $162, I don't know. I mean, I don't think I'm giving it quite the stink eye that some other reviewers are. I'm surprised by this too, because I was ready. I was ready to roast this knife. I really was. I was so upset about CPMD2 and the Grivory scales, and everything about it was just kind of making me mad. But then I got it, and very, very smooth, nice, slicey edge. It's a good knife. It really is. The Benchmade Redoubt. Guys, let me know what you think about this if you've handled this one. I really want to hear everyone's opinion on this, because I don't know if I'm in the minority or the majority of my opinion. So please drop them in the comments. What do you think of CPMD2? What do you think of the Grivory scales? I will say this. Ergos are great. Blades great. Material choice is what I have in question. So let me know your thoughts on this one, guys. Really hope you enjoyed it. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And until the next one, I'm out.